Hello everyone, welcome back. Blade Bananas here. I hope you guys are having a good day wherever you are. In this video, I want to showcase some of my battles that I did during Ultra League Remix Cup. And with this team that was using a Gengar, we actually got pretty high up on the leaderboard at number 12 globally. So this is definitely a very solid team. Obviously, I have two very strong XL Pokemon in the back to support the Gengar, but yeah, this is a very strong team. A lot of times, really, just because of two XL Pokemon in the back that are just really strong and bulky and spammy. And without further ado, let's get into some of the battles. But a lot of times, Gengar also comes really into clutch. So against Stunfisk leads, obviously it's not great for my Gengar. I don't have Shadow Ball, so I have to swap out immediately into my Manda Buzz. And the thing with Manda Buzz is that you survive 3 Rock Slides. So because I was a Hundo best buddied and fully maxed out, and you could actually win this matchup in the 1 shields, but most of the time I think I'm just going to try to chip my opponent down instead of attempting to win swap advantage, because you really rarely want to shield your Manda Buzz, because Manda Buzz is just so tanky, right? It's basically your 3rd, 4th, 5th shields on your team. So here we tank 3 Rock Slides and we still have a very decent chunk of HP, and I think I was counting my opponent's fast moves. And I know that they're at 3 right here. Okay, actually no, that's a different game. But here we go for this Aerial Ace. We're able to outpace, and we actually end up winning swap advantage here, which is really insane to me that we're able to win swap. But here we come in with the Gengar. I know I survived a Night Slash, and I'm hoping my opponent doesn't have a Night Slash, but my opponent did. So not great situation, but my opponent comes in with the Mewtwo. We're able to get off the Shadow Punch, which is really huge for me. And then I can go into my Politoed. Basically, I would just shield whatever they throw, and hopefully I'll spam my opponent. Basically, when you're playing Politoed, you're just looking to spam out those weather balls that you can generate really fast with your fast move Mush Shots, right? So we're able to get off another weather ball right here, and I think we have another one stored, but my opponent CMP tied me right here. So I will shield the Side Strike, and my opponent comes back in with this Surf Edged, and I'm going to go for this weather ball, and I believe I store a weather ball here, which may not be the right play. I think I'm making a misplay here. But I let my Gengar go down, and then I need to farm up to basically double. But my opponent can just let it go and then save a shield for the Mewtwo, and then they can just fast move me down, honestly. Okay, my opponent actually had residual energy, so unfortunately we still ended up losing this game, even though we won back swap advantage with our Manda Buzz against the Glaring Stunfisk. But that's okay. A lot of these battles were done at the beginning of Remix Cup, so I was still not too familiar with some of the matchups. So this matchup, we landed a lead against Machamp, which is really good, and they save swap into Snorlax. We have a good response in our Manda Buzz. So Manda Buzz can win this in pretty much all shielding scenarios, except that you have to shield first, which is not something that you want to do a lot of times on Manda Buzz. And here I'm trying out a thing where I'm trying to see if I could take out my opponent's Snorlax with double Aerial Ace. So I ended up throwing this Aerial Ace right here. But I think I still end up going for the Dark Pose, because I realized another Aerial Ace wouldn't have been enough right here if I wanted to take out my opponent's Snorlax right here. But my opponent went for Superpower, so I decided to change course and went for Aerial Ace. And my opponent ended up shielding. I was very close to getting to another move, but my opponent swapped out into a Machamp. And here I'm just going to go for Sludge, because Shadow Punch will not KO in case my opponent doesn't shield. We have the shield advantage, so there's no reason for us to go for the bait. Here, let's see, so this Machamp could bait us, they do decide to bait with the cross chop. And here I'm going to get off this shadow punch, which will do a pretty decent amount of damage, and then one more shadow claw should take out this Machamp. Do I shield? I don't shield because I recognized that I couldn't be a rock slide. Good for me that I kept track of the counts. And then they have a Galarian Stunfisk in the back, and this is just looking extremely good for me. So the good thing about using Shadow Politoed is that you only need 2 Weather Balls to take out this Stunfisk. But if you're using non-Shadows Politoed, you need a lot of Mushot damage in order to take out this Stunfisk. But here we just land double Weather Balls here, and we should get rid of this Stunfisk, and then we just need to land 1 more Weather Ball for the Snorlax, and we're able to take that game pretty easily. Next up, we're against Ferrothorn. Ferrothorn is pretty tough for my Politoed, so I have to stay in here and try to chip it down as much as I can. My opponent was building up a lot of energy. I believe they were at 7 Bullet Seeds, so they could have Flash Cannon right here. And just in case I got Flash Cannon here, so I decided to shield up once, and it was just a Mirror Shot, which meant probably wasn't the most important shield that I could have used. And then my opponent gets off another Mirror Shots because Mirror Shots are very low energy cost. So, and they got the Attack Foul, which is huge for my opponent, but luckily we got to the Sludge Bomb. This will still chunk quite a bit against this Kindra, and my opponent decided to shield. And then I come in with my Mana Buzz here, basically just soaking up all this energy that my opponent Kindra got. And hopefully we don't get debuffed, but of course we got debuffed yet again. So this is not a great situation for us. So here we go for Dark Pulse, which is barely doing any damage because of the 2-stage debuff from Octazooka. That move is still so annoying. But let's see what we can do here. My opponent actually swapped out yet again into Dragouge. So Dragouge is a pretty interesting matchup for my Politoed. I think it may come down to baits and if we can land the Weather Ball or the Earthquake. So here we go for the Earthquake right away. Which is debatably, maybe debatably we should have gone for Weather Ball, but I decided to go for that. And here, in case this was an Outrage, I think I decided to shield, and we successfully shielded an Outrage, so that was very good for me. And here, I know that I lose CMP, so I decided to not even throw a move right here. I just let them land the Aqua Tail, and then my opponent comes in with the Ferrothorn. So what I'm going to do here is go for 1 Weather Ball, and then I believe I will swap out if I could. Actually, I would just go for double Weather Ball, trying to take out this Ferrothorn. And then they come back in with the Kindra. I go for this Weather Ball to chip it down a little bit, and then I come in with my Gengar most likely, just forcing my opponent to throw some energy to take my Gengar out. Otherwise, my Gengar will just farm down this Kindra. So we got taken out, and then we come in with Manda Buzz. My opponent definitely couldn't build up to another Outrage right here, so it was just Octazooka, and we didn't get debuffed, which was very huge. And then we were only 2 Snarls away from getting Dark Pulse, and it was very important that we didn't get another debuff at the very end, and then we barely ended up winning this game. So good game to my opponent. That took quite a long time. That's the thing with playing Manda Buzz, right? Alright, so next up we're against a Giratina. This is a very interesting matchup. I think Gengar wins the 1 shields, but it all depends on if you could deny their fast move or if they deny your fast move. So here, I think my opponent denied my fast move, so it's not the best situation. But I barely get off the Shadow Punch, which will almost take out this Giratina. I think my opponent is at another Ominous Wind, but I don't think my opponent was able to throw right away. So we barely end up taking that. And then they come in with Politoed. I farm up to Sludge Bump because it will do more damage, and we're able to land that, which did quite a bit of damage. And I remember playing against this opponent before, so I think I remembered that they had a Ninetales in the back. So it made sense for me to bring out my Manda Buzz right here to avoid the Ninetales matchup. And there we see the Ninetales, which is not great for my Manda Buzz, right? Especially since it has Charm. which just chunks us down. Luckily, we have our Politoed for this situation, and we're just gonna go for this Weather Ball spam, hoping to do as much damage as we can. Do I end up shielding this? I do shield this. It was just a Weather Ball, but that's fine, because what we really need to do is just get rid of this whole Ninetales, and then that should be good. But my opponent throws another Weather Ball right here, which is totally fine by me, because they're at a health range where I can take them out with one Aerial Ace. My opponent actually makes a swap to unload energy with the Politoed, but my opponent is out of energy with the other Ninetales. So basically I can just farm down this Politoed and then go for an Aerial Ace, and then I should be able to take out the other Ninetales, even though they resist everything from our Manda Buzz, right? And Aerial Ace is a terrible move, but we still end up winning this game because Manda Buzz is just an absolute tank. Alright, Jellicent is really great, especially because we have another counter in the back to the Jellicent, right? My opponent goes into Altaria. What I will do here is try to chip it down with a Sludge Bomb, and then probably going to come in with Manda Buzz right here. There's a case to be made here for me to shield a Moonblast, because they almost never bait here. No one really shields a Manda Buzz, and they got the attack felt, which is absolutely huge for my opponent, because now they're able to tank these dark pulses extremely well, and I think that may have put them into a health range. If not for a debuff, they would definitely be in a farm down range for my Gengar. But unfortunately, because of the debuff, I think even if we come in with the Gengar right here, they were able to get off another move because of that 10% debuff. Right. So without the debuff, this Altaria would have been dead right now. But unfortunately, we had to shield the Sky Attack, and yeah, not the greatest situation. And then they come back in with the Solar Ninetales. I go for a Sludge Bomb. Maybe I should have baited here, but I decided to go for Sludge, and then I'm probably going to swap out right here, which I do. And then my opponent comes in with the Jellicent yet again, and this is not looking good at all. So if I baited there, I think I would have a better chance of winning, really. Here, I think I will shield this Shadow. This is a Bubble Beam. So I think my win condition is calling the bait, but unfortunately I wasn't able to. And now I go for this Earthquake, and it actually doesn't kill my opponent again, but I put my opponent into a farm down range. I should have really called the bait. But now I can just farm down the Jellicent, which is okay, depending on if we can get to another Weather Ball right here. Actually swap out. I only did 2 Shadow Claws there, and for some reason my opponent got 2 Charms through at the same time that I did 2 Shadow Claws, which should never happen. So if I got the Shadow Punch off, maybe that game would be slightly different, but unfortunately there was some weird lag that didn't allow us to get to the move. But that's okay, that's how this game is sometimes, unfortunately. We'll just move on to the next game. Gengar versus a Tangrowth. So this is a pretty interesting matchup. You do live a Rock Slide, but because my opponent shielded, I thought maybe I might as well just match the shields. And I'm always trying to throw on the CMP. I think because we were 1 turn behind, we got refunded, so we ended up throwing my move. Otherwise, it would be a really great catch for my opponent. But because we were 1 turn behind, it kind of rewarded us in that situation. And then I come in with my Politoed. Again, my opponent was ahead by a turn, so we were able to catch a Mud Bomb, even though when they think it might have been a CMP tie. And then my opponent comes back in with the Tangrowth. I'm going to go for this Weather Ball, and then I should get to another Weather Ball before my opponent gets to a move right here. Actually, I think my opponent was already at a move. They just decided to not throw. And then here, I'm just going to let my Politoed go down. It already did its job, and it made my opponent throw some energy. So I come back in with my Gengar, and I'm going to overfarm a little bit. So my opponent goes for another rock slide, and my opponent should be drier here, so I should think about farming this Tangrowth all the way down, but I felt a little bit uncomfortable if I miscounted, so I decided to throw a Shadow Punch, but I still have some energy remaining. And then it's a Surf Edge in the back, so I just have to go for a Sludge Bomb, and then my Manda Buzz with full HP, there's nothing my opponent can do. And yeah, that's good game to my opponent. Gengar was doing a lot of work in that game. Alright, next up we're against Jellicent. They come back in with Steelix, which is pretty interesting. I come in with Politoed because obviously it's a counter, but I'm worried that my opponent is trying to bait something out, right? That's always a concern. And I should have gone into my Manda Buzz, because Manda Buzz resists everything the Steelix has for charge move. Steelix learns Crunch and Earthquake, which are both resisted by Manda Buzz, so I think that's what I should have really done. And here there's a case to be made for me to farm this all the way down, but I felt a little bit uncomfortable. My Politoed is not fully maxed out. It's only at 2468 CP, right? But it turned out okay. We still took out the Steelix, and then against Jellicent we come in with our Manda Buzz, and let's see what they have in the back. My opponent is not swapping out, so I'm gonna overfarm a little bit more, and then I'm going to go for this Dark Pulse, which does chunks the Jellicent, but Jellicent is also an extremely tanky beast of a Pokemon in Ultra League Remix. And I decided to shield up an Ice Beam here, and I'm going to go for this Dark Pulse, which took out this Jellicent, and it turned out my opponent had a full health Galarian Stunfisk with 2 shields in the back. So this is really, really scary. So basically what my opponent tried to do is to bait out my Politoed with the Steelix, and now they have a Stunfisk that pretty much has no counter. I don't have a counter for it, right? So I wait for my opponent to throw a move, and then come in with my Gengar. I'm always over farming. Before I throw my energy, I go for Shadow Punch. It turned out to be a CMP tie. I can't shield this move, so I let the Rock Slide go, hoping it wasn't an Earthquake. And now I really need to sneak a fast move right there, because I need to land double Shadow Punch at this point, at least one of them. So I go for a Shadow Punch right here. And I believe I have a move stored on my Manda Buzz, right? So as long as I can chip it down, so I get off another Shadow Punch right here, which is absolutely crucial. And basically we chipped down this Stunfisk, and then we come in with my Manda Buzz, one Snarl away from getting off this Dark Pulse, and we're able to barely win this game. That was a very, very close game at the end. I could definitely play better. Alright, next up we're against Scrafty. So I don't have a direct answer to Scrafty, and at the time I thought my best play was to stay in, but I realized that maybe coming in with my Politoed as a safe swap would be a better option, because Politoed is a pretty solid answer to Scrafty in a lot of situations. But I kind of made a misplay. I decided to stay in here, and I'm going to go for a Sludge Bomb. I like to go for Sludge Bomb and then hoping to catch the foul play on my Manda Buzz, which actually doesn't usually happen. So here my opponent just threw on CMP tie, and I think I let my Gengar go right here. Yep, and I will come in with my Manda Buzz and basically getting off a Aerial Ace to get rid of the Scrafty. I could have probably overfarmed a little bit more as well, and I do overfarm a little bit more, and I get off this Aerial Ace. Okay, that's good. So we still have some residual energy after taking out this Scrafty, and let's see what my opponent has. My opponent comes in with the Mew. That is incredibly interesting to me. So it must mean that my opponent has another weakness to Manda Buzz in the back. So I will land this Dark Pulse, my opponent doesn't shield. I should probably consider shielding this Wild Charge, but at the time I was just thinking, you know, I never want to shield a Manda Buzz. But it turned out my opponent had a Deoxys, and I should really swap out after throwing this Dark Pulse to prevent my opponent from building up extra energy. But again, I make another huge misplay. I stayed in a little bit too long, and now I I got taken out, and I could have probably shielded there to land under the Dark Pulse or force a shield, because that would have been really important for me, getting the more effective damage done right there. And even here, I think I could still win, but I make another mistake, as you guys will see pretty soon. So I go for this Weather Ball. I could honestly just go for another Weather Ball, but I get a little bit of lag. And this should get the shield. And then I just have to overfarm a little bit. And I outpace the Mew anyways. So I should just shield this move, build up a little bit more extra energy. But I ended up not shielding the move. And that turned out to be just the worst decision of this game. And I end up going for this Weather Ball against the Mew, and I end up losing to fast moves. So I should have really shielded there. Besides that, there were some other misplays as well. But again, I make a lot of mistakes as well. No matter which elo range you're at, there are always players making a lot of misplays. Alright, next up, we're against Scrafty, so I'm going to just staying here. I'm making the same play as I did before, basically matching the shields because we always win CMP tie. And I will go for a Sludge Bomb right here. But for some reason, my opponent was able to get the foul play off before I did, and then was able to catch a move. I was extremely upset by that because they should not be able to catch when we're throwing the move at the same turn, right? So I was pretty upset, and also at the fact that I lost CMP as a Gengar. And but that's okay, we have a solid response to Victini. I'm going to no charge this Aerial Ace and then just snarl this Victini all the way down, so I have a little bit extra energy. And then let's see what my opponent comes back in with, a Nidoqueen. So I'm still looking to be in a good spot because I have a pretty good answer to this Nidoqueen with my Politoed, right? I will just try to chip it down as much as I can with my Mana Buzz right now. So I go for another Dark Pulse, hoping to grab a shield. And we don't get the shield, so I'm going to stay in and just basically force my opponent to throw some energy. Actually, I swapped out into my Gengar, hoping to grab a shield, but my opponent swapped at the exact right time. Again, I don't know how that should have happened because I swapped in the middle of the Poison Jab, if I remember correctly. But it is what it is. Sometimes swapping takes a turn on your side, right? But we end up getting a CMP tie right there against my opponent Scrafty, which was absolutely huge. And here I think I'm going to come in with my Politoed. Yep. And I'm just going to go for my Weather Balls right away. I should be able to live a foul play here, which will hurt, but we should be able to live it. And then after going for this Weather Ball, I think my opponent is looking to swap and snipe me because they have energy, so I recognize that. And we have a move ready, so if we get off a move right here, that would be really good. We have 1 HP. Okay, it looked like my opponent was able to throw a move, and then after the charge move ends, immediately getting a fast move, so that my Mana Buzz, even though my Mana Buzz survived with 1 HP, it couldn't get off a charge move. So yeah, that's a very annoying bug, but unfortunately those are some things that we have to deal with in this game. Because we definitely had a move stored with our Mana Buzz, and we had 1 HP remaining, but we just couldn't do anything, and it just got taken out. Alright, so Obama Snow kind of beats my entire line, honestly. I don't shield the Weather Ball because I don't want my opponent to shield. I just want to chip it down with my Shadow Punch as much as I can. But for some reason, my opponent caught it. That was, again, invisible, right? I'm not sure if you guys could see, but I definitely couldn't see the swap. Again, it's part of the game that we have to deal with. And against Gallade, basically, I'm going to overfarm a little bit more and then go for this Aerial Ace. And now we have 2 moves stored. Well, we have another Aerial Ace for this Obama Snow, which should do quite a bit of damage. If my opponent doesn't shield, my opponent shields up one of the Aerial Ace, and I'm looking to get off another Aerial Ace. And Manda Buzz actually survives this Weather Ball pretty easily, pretty comfortably, and then lives 2 more Powder Snow. I believe I actually shield here because I really want to take out this Abomasnow. And because we got off this aerial ace right here, and we'll either get the last shield or we take out this Abomasnow, right? And my opponent shields, so I will swap out into my Politoed and go for these Weather Ball spams. And even if this doesn't kill, I will just farm down with my Politoed. My opponent probably goes for an Energy Ball right here, which I will shield, and then I'm looking to farm up this Abomasnow all the way down. My opponent had a balloon in the back, which is okay because we still have our ghost Pokemon in the back. My opponent goes for, this is probably a Shadow Ball. It's a Shadow Ball, but Politoed is an absolute tank, and we just get off 3 Weather Balls incredibly fast. We just need 4 more must shots right here. My opponent is only at 3 Hex, so they're not even at the Icy Wind, and I think I will swap out trying to snipe down this Dribblum, and then I just need a couple more Shadow Claws to take out this Abomasnow, and we're able to barely win this game. Extremely close, but Abomasnow is definitely very, very tough. Alright, Stunfisk, yet again, it's a terrible lead for me. As you guys know, it's pretty good against Gengar, right? I come in with my safe swap of Manda Buzz, which doesn't lose to Glaring Stunfisk too hard, as you guys have seen. We just keep going for these neutral Snarls and Dark Pulses. And yes, I'm running Dark Pulse instead of Snarl. Maybe I should have mentioned that earlier. But the reason why you want to go for Dark Pulse, because Ultra League, everything is so much tankier, and you really need the Snarl, the Dark Pulse extra damage in order to really pressure shields and health from your opponents with your Manda Buzz. And here we get off another Dark Pulse right here, and we're pressuring this Stunfisk extremely hard. And my opponent gets off another Rock Slide, and I believe my opponent is 2 away, so I decided to swap out, and they die right after 2 must shots that they did. So it turned out to be really good for me, and I have my Gengar, and I definitely get off 2 Shadow Punches right here, which is really important for me as well, because we can grab a lot of shields or a lot of health against this armored Mewtwo. So we get off the other Shadow Punched. And then this Mewtwo is extremely low. I believe actually coming with my Manda Buzz right here, because Manda Buzz is just such a tank beast. My opponent still has to throw some energy to take out this Manda Buzz, and we survive 1 more confusion to get off this Aerial Ace. And then this Mewtwo is gone, and then my opponent has a Giratina in the back with Dragon Tail. That's extremely interesting to me. That they're going for Dragon Tail instead of Shadow Claw, but I think Dragon Tail is slightly better move in terms of damage, so I guess it makes sense. So I will go for this Earthquake right here, and we're able to land the Earthquake, which means now we can just go for straight Weather Balls. If my opponent doesn't shield, then I will just try to fast move all the way down, but if my opponent decides to shield, then that will be a different story. And my opponent recognizes that he couldn't get to 2 charge moves and decides to leave the game. So GG's to my opponent. Next up, we're against Ninetales with Powder Snow as fast move. My opponent got off the Weather Ball right here to chip down my Gengar. And then there was some desync. Unfortunate game mechanics right there. I feel like there isn't a single game so far that I played without any of the issues, you know, either desync or very inconsistent fast moves, or just all of a sudden there's a huge lag, or you know, just opponent getting a free fast moves at the very beginning of the turn. But it's honestly, I feel like this game is probably at the worst place it has ever been in terms of lag and just overall inconsistencies in the game. Very unfortunate, but it is kind of what we have to deal with. So here we chip down with our Manda Buzz against their Manda Buzz, and then they come back in with the Ninetales. So I will go for my Shadow Punch right here, which gets a shield, and then I'm only 1 away for my Sludge. And this should either grab a shield or take out the solo Ninetales, and this is just my opponent decides not to shield, and then we're able to take out the little Ninetales. So that just goes to show the power of a Gengar, because you're able to generate those energy extremely fast, and then in later situations you can really press your shields or just one-shot your opponent, right? And then my opponent comes in with Manda Buzz, and I will come back in with my own Manda Buzz to basically soak up all these damage. And then my opponent has a Gengar of their own. I would just go for 3 Weather Balls. My opponent only has 1 shield, right? I just need to go for keep going for Weather Balls until this Gengar faints, and we should be good. I recognize that my opponent will get to 2 fast moves no matter what, so I think I will actually try to sneak fast move in and farm this Gengar all the way down. Unfortunately, we can't sneak any fast move in, so I think I will just try my best to take out this Gengar. We're actually able to farm it all the way down, and that's really huge. And in the Manda Buzz mirror is just basically whoever has more health, right? So I'm just trying to chip down this Manda Buzz as much as I can with my Politoed, and then my Manda Buzz will be able to win this game pretty easily. We'll tank this foul play, and then we just need 1 more Snarl to get off. We're in for a Dark Pulse because why not? And we're able to take out my opponent Manda Buzz, and we're able to take this win right here. I believe this was a 4-1 that brought us all the way up to 34-38, and that's number 12 on the leaderboard of July 29th of 2021. So definitely this is a very strong team. If you have the XL Pokemon available, definitely give this team a try, because Manda Buzz, Politoed is just so strong together. And then there's Gengar, which is just very flexible and very spammy Pokemon, and can one-shot a lot of Pokemon, right? So definitely give it a try. I hope you guys enjoyed these battles. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you guys in my next video.